Welcome into Deep Waters. We take a deep dive on all things boxing here on ProBox TV. Well, the weigh-in is on for the fight tomorrow night. Alexandr Usyk taking on Tyson Fury. But weigh-ins, right? Face-offs, are they the Tinder profile of boxing? We make a big deal out of them, but are they really meaningless in the end? I got the panel to let you know right now. Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri. We're making a lot of this weigh-in, Paulie. We know that Usyk weighed in 233.5, heaviest he's ever weighed in as a heavyweight. Also, Usyk probably putting on weight to take on a bigger guy. Why? Tyson Fury coming down from 277 to 262, kind of meeting in the middle a little bit. Once again, are we making a bigger deal about this than we should, or is it significant?
Well, you know, it's always up to interpretation, right? I mean, you talked about Tinder. Well, what do you do when you look at Tinder, right? You're interpreting it yourself. You know, you're seeing what you see, but you're also seeing what you want to see, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's what a lot of these weigh-ins are. You know, it's become sort of a customary thing with boxing. It's become a bigger and bigger deal through the decades. An official weigh-in, a public weigh-in, and so on and so forth. You kind of, you got the guys posturing and posing, see who's the big shot here, and of course getting in each other's heads, so to speak, pushing around like we saw today. It's, up to interpretation. That's all I can tell you. I know I have my interpretation of today's events, but my guess is as good as anybody else's, really.
So what's your thought, Chris? We were talking about this before the show, about the weigh-in. You don't like the weigh-in of Usyk. You don't mind Fury. You don't like the weight of Usyk. Tell me why.
So normally with heavyweights, the weigh-ins are really ceremonial. You don't care. You don't have to make a weight. But with Fury, it seems like it's part of his tactics always. You know, how does he come in? When he fought Wilder the first time, he was lighter. You know, he struggled in that fight, fought to a draw, comes back in the second fight and goes, it's better to be fat. And he comes in super heavy and completely dominates and beats Wilder up. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I remember him, I saw him around the top rank.
Style.
Yeah, top rank gym, and he's telling everybody, he's talking to my friend Adam Konaki, he's like, stay fat, you're better to be fat, you're stronger when you're fat. Okay, but now he comes in.
By the way, thanks heavyweight.
Yeah,
Who doesn't have to make a weight.
But now,
the dad bod.
Now he comes in all week. We're looking at him. Like, man, this guy looks trim. And I'm like, all right, this matters. If he's 255, bad luck. He's 265, good luck. So I was very curious about what he was going to weigh come the scales today. He came in at 262. Good look. 262, 263. I like that. Very good. He's trim. He's in shape. He looks fit. The weight looks like it's in the right places. So the strength I'm not as worried about. But then Usyk comes in 12 pounds heavier than he was in his best performance against Anthony Joshua. Now you got me thinking, it's like, ooh, is he putting on the weight so he doesn't get bullied, doesn't get pushed around because he was worried about the weight? And then you got Fury, who was like, oh, I need to be in extra good shape. I need to be trim. I need to be agile. So am I going to lose some weight? So both of them are making adjustments in order to prepare for each other. It shows you how close this fight is, how serious these guys are taking each other. And like I said, normally heavyweight fights, weights don't matter. This one, it really does.
And they felt the weight, a little pushing and shoving at the weigh-in.
Tyson looked strong in that.
Yeah.
Tyson looked strong.
We are great to talk about, right? We love stuff like this. It gives us something to talk about on air. But, Paulie, these are two professionals. They've been in the game for a long time. Is there anything in a face-off, as we saw, Fury not want to look at Usyk, right? Those kind of things. Do these guys really mentally break down because of a weigh-in or a face-off? What are your thoughts on it? A little pushing and shoving here, as we're seeing it.
You're going to look for anything, right? You're going to look for anything you can, a little edge you can get. I think Usyk is taking a page out of the learning process that Vladimir Klitschko maybe did not learn. Vladimir Klitschko got all flustered and that's really his countryman, because Vladimir is Ukrainian himself, And I think he's looking at it from the point of view that, Vladimir let Tyson fluster him. Tyson Fury got in Vladimir Klitschko's head. All these antics and all these things, they kind of affected Vladimir Klitschko psychologically. Usyk is sort of staying stoic. You see, he was kind of just standing there while Fury postured and did all that stuff. Then the stare down, obviously, Fury pushed him. But again, I don't know that Usyk is looking to involve himself in any of these antics, because I think he's trying to take the approach, we're going to fight. We're going to fight anyway. I don't have to partake in any of this. I have my game plan. I agree and disagree with the champ, because I do think, like he said, it's probably due to the fact that he's looking to prepare for the physical pushback from Tyson Fury. But I also think, that doesn't mean he's not prepared. A lot of times with heavyweights, because it's ceremonial, like we say, like, oh, the guy shows up so much heavier, like, oh, this guy's fat, man, But this generation is weird, because Tyson Fury showed up fat and win, and then it ends up winning. In the past, I can remember Kirk Johnson showing up against Vitaly Klitschko looking like a beached whale, and then he got knocked out in 2 rounds, and a guy who had usually been a pretty good fighter. This time around, I don't know, man. It's not like Usyk looks like a beached whale. He just looks bigger. And I think a guy with his reputation to always be prepared, always keep it stoic, always be emotionless, always come fully prepared tactically. I just think it comes, again, this is my interpretation because like we were talking about, it's everybody's interpretation. My interpretation is he is expecting a physical Tyson Fury and he wants to be able to give Tyson Fury a little bit more weight to have to push around and a little bit more resistance.
Well, I didn't say it because I thought Usyk wasn't prepared. I think the opposite. I think he prepared to be heavier. So he's you know, he put on some weight.
It can affect his speed. It can
That's
affect
what I'm
his
worried about. So
conditioning,
the same reason that
It's a gamble, right?
the
You're
same
saying-
reason I was worried earlier in the week for Tyson being too trim and over preparing and over.
Mind you, he came in later
Getting
than we
red.
thought. We said 265 and 270.
I thought 267 was going to be the number,
Yeah,
and
me
he's
too. I said
263.
between 265 and 270.
Yeah.
He came in lighter than what we both expected.
But he's still heavier than I thought, which is danger zone, which
Yeah.
is in the mid 250s.
Under
So I think
260s,
he's
yeah.
in a good. I think he's actually in a good weight. And then, so I'm worried for Usyk in the same way that I was worried for Tyson earlier in the week, based on what he did to prepare for the fight. But in terms of the mental stuff, Usyk had a really good quote. He goes, Tyson's a little crazy. I'm a little crazy too. I think I'm a little crazier though. So he understands this mind game stuff. He's really good at that. He's always got those eyes looking at you. I remember him, the Anthony Joshua, like Anthony,
Yeah.
I'm come for you. I come for you. Like he got into the head of Anthony Joshua. He's not trying it as much with Tyson, but I think your point, staying stoic, I think is actually how he's combating Tyson.
Yes, I feel like the fact that he shows nothing bothers him, nothing affects him, is maybe his attempt to get in Tyson's head. And of course, Tyson's attempt to get in your head is what he always does. Be loud, show you how big and macho he looks, show you what shape he's in, and be loud and try to throw you off your mindset. I think both of these guys are very prepared. Honestly,
the Usyk poker face is his actual game.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And the fight on Saturday won't just decide the undisputed heavyweight champion. It might decide one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Do we think the winner makes the list? We'll discuss that when we come back to Deep Waters.
Wednesday Night Fights. On the next Wednesday Night Fights, May 22nd, Batajan Jukambayev faces Ivan El Terrible Redkach. Wednesday Night Fights.
That's right, an Eastern European killer fighting this Saturday against Tyson Fury. We have the same thing May 22nd, next Wednesday. A great main event. Two warriors. We're talking about this weekend. It isn't just about fighting. It's about how do you make some money. That's right. That's why we have the better side. Check it out.
Well, it may be Riyadh season out in Saudi Arabia, but it is betting season every week. Back at it here on the better side. Hope you were with us last week with Lomachenko. Ching, ching. Let's get back at it as we got the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, well, for at least 2 weeks, between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. Go to our buddies at sportsbetting.ag, and what do you have? Well, you've got Tyson Fury as a slight favorite. The betting lines are actually pretty close. Fury minus 115, while Usyk minus 105. You can go either way, so what do we do to get some quality and get some value, and more important, get that plus money on our side? Well, the rounds, they're 10.5. Under 10.5 is plus money, but I think this fight's going to go the distance, so I'm going to push it out over to the side. So where do we make the money? What about Tyson Fury gets knocked down during the fight? That's plus 250. Now, before you start screaming at me, I get it. Alexander Usyk, not exactly a big knockout puncher, but Fury seems to always taste the mat, right? Ngannou got him. Wilder got him. I'm not saying Fury's going to get knocked out, but I think he will touch the mat, plus 250. But what is my bet? What is my big boy here? What about the fight ends in a draw? Yeah, plus 1,200, 12 to 1. Listen, the rematch is already set, right? We know there's going to be an Usyk Fury 2 or a Fury Usyk 2. What better way to stoke the fires, end this thing in a draw, and then we do it all over again in the fall. Plus 1,200, maybe a little bit more than pizza and beer money. I like that. I hope you do too. I'm Jim Rodriguez, and as always, welcome to the better side.
J-Rod's so confident he actually won that jacket from the Joker in a bet. Can you believe that? That's how confident he is in his picks. Great stuff from J-Rod. Look, the legends are going to be out on Saturday, of course, Riyadh season. But one legend, Lennox Lewis, had some words to say about Tyson Fury's claim that the winner on Saturday is the best ever.
Tyson Fury says if he wins this fight Saturday night, he will go down as the greatest heavyweight ever. Do you agree with that?
One of the greatest heavyweights ever. You know, it's different eras. You know, my era was hard. His era was not as hard. So, you know, it's up to the people to really judge that.
It's true. It is up to the people. Fortunately, I have some people who can help me judge that. Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, Lennox Lewis, of course, king of the ring from the mid-'90s to about the early 2000s. A great era in heavyweight boxing, right? You had Michael Moore, you had Riddick Bowe, you had Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson. We can keep going. Even Razor Ruddock, David Tua. The contenders were tough.
Morrison,
Yeah, Morrison, a great era. Ray Mercer. What's your thought on the comparison of eras, and where does the winner of Saturday fit, Paulie?
You know, anytime you're in the conversation for the best of your era, you're also going to be in contention for the best ever in that weight class, right? So I don't think it's out of the question for Lennox to say, oh, best of that era, but he's not better than me. You're supposed to be, if you're the best of your era, which I believe Lennox is the best of his era, then you're supposed to think, you know what, I would be the best no matter what era you put me in. So it's always going to be a debate because we can't mix eras together. But, you know, I think it's the right way to respond if you're Lennox Lewis, because Lennox was the best of his era.
Yeah, he was certainly the best of his era. Chris, why is comparing eras so difficult in boxing? Because you look at it, you know, Sugar Ray Robinson beat more Hall of Famers than anybody else. He fought 200 times. They don't do that anymore. Is that what makes comparing eras so difficult?
Well, yeah, the sport's evolving, right? You know, when it comes to athletes in terms of, you know, genetics, in terms of sports science, in terms of ability, in terms of preparation, it's all changing. And the sports, you know, like you mentioned, 15 rounds, 12 rounds, things change. You know, the sport's changing too. It's not just the athletes themselves. So, listen, you can be the best of your era, and your era could be better than my era, but I could still beat you, or I could still beat the guys in your era. So just because, for example, like if whoever wins this fight, say it's Tyson Fury, say it's Oleksandr Usyk, it doesn't matter. Yeah, Lennox Lewis's era was tougher, but I would take those guys against any of those guys as well. And it's tough to make that comparison because you can't. You got to do a fantasy matchup. You got to do a theoretical thought experiment. Like, okay, well, if he was fighting in that era, then you just got to play games with it. But yeah, no, I agree with you, champ. I think Lennox, of course, you're going to say that. Yeah, I'm better than those guys. My era was
There's not
tougher.
really a real answer.
No,
either.
there's no real answer.
Lennox was a tremendous fighter. I mean, if you look at how intelligent he was as a fighter, and then all the physical gifts he had, it's hard to pick anybody against him. But then you look at Tyson Fury and how intelligent he's been and the physical gifts he's got, and you say, oh man, it's hard to pick against him too. So, you know, you gotta go back and forth. Usyk is, you know, awesome as well. You know, there's no real answer, man. I mean, you're gonna have an argument either way.
I think the best version of Lennox and the best version of Tyson, the only guy I can see in history beating Tyson is Lennox. Like because he is the modern era big heavyweight, right? Because of the modern era. So I think Lennox was the biggest, baddest, most skilled super heavyweight
and even then,
that we've
you
ever
wish
had.
you could see it because you don't really know.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. He's the only guy I think that would be able to beat him.
The two things that kind of, if people don't like Lennox Lewis, if they don't put him on #1 on the list, you don't put him, you know, top 5 all time. Two things.
I did until he retired, by the way.
Right. Number one is he tended to fight down to his opposition. Oliver McCall beat him.
Yeah.
Hasim Rahman. The two lowest guys.
They caught him.
Right. They caught
you know
him.
what?
He had a
Getting
tendency.
caught is a little bit,
right?
You know, you're a little bit slack and you get caught. You
The
know?
second
Can
thing,
happen in boxing.
he was a bit of a chess
Especially
player.
heavyweight.
He didn't have that Mike Tyson wow factor. He had a tendency to stay safe. What do you think of those two qualities? Do you think Fury is better in those two qualities? The consistency and
no, because I think Fury
thought?
also has that same problem where he kind of fights down to the level of his opposition. He really has underperformed against guys like Valin and you know, I don't know.
That he should have walked over.
But
Yeah.
Tyson's always got up.
Tyson gets up as well, but so did Lennox.
No,
you know?
no, he didn't. He got knocked out twice.
The two losses were knockouts.
But those were leveling down. You know what I mean? He went down the level of his opposition.
But that's the point, though.
Fury went down against Cunningham.
Fury leveled
and
down.
I'm not saying one or the other wins.
Fury leveled down, got dropped, and got up, and win those fights. Lennox dropped down, got hit, went down. Difference is, I mean, not difference. Because,
got up against McCall, but was still called off as a knockout.
Right, he got knocked out by two guys.
Right.
But Lennox, his saving grace is he's beat every man he's ever fought.
Yeah.
Every man he's ever fought.
Yeah. So is Fury.
Exactly. That was my next point. So that's why we're here making this comparison.
It's hard to.
So is Usyk.
That's another thing. We're leaving Usyk out of this conversation.
It's hard to separate them, but that's what we're going to do. The other thing,
I understand it's an emotional topic.
It is, but that's why it's so fun to talk about.
I personally don't really, like, I'm not going to get mad one way or the other. Like, I'll give you, I love, like, putting out talking points on it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, well, Tyson has this advantage, Lennox has this advantage. You know, we're never going to get an answer. So what are we arguing about? You know, but it's great, cool to just, you know, put out advantages and disadvantages of both fighters. And
I'm getting raked over the coals social media-wise for
where,
things I'm saying. It doesn't matter both ways.
It's when people start getting hurt over these arguments that it starts becoming a problem. Like, I remember a few years ago, a guy in Russia stabbed his friend to death because his friends were saying Klitschko would have beat Mike Tyson, and he was a Mike Tyson fan. And if you look this up, it's probably still on Google. I remember the guy stabbed his friend to death over an argument over who would win between Mike Tyson in their prime and Vladimir Klitschko in his prime.
Well, fortunately, they search us before we come in here, so that's not
I'm
going to
not
happen.
arguing like that, guys. I'm not. I don't want you guys to do it either.
How do they win? Who gets inside? Who comes out with a W on Saturday? Another legend weighed in on that. We'll hear what he has to say right after this. Welcome back to Deep Waters. We discuss all things boxing. Of course, this weekend it is Alexander Usyk taking on Tyson Fury, and a legend, a bona fide Hall of Famer, of course, weighed in about the key to victory for Usyk. Let's hear it.
You had the two best fighters, and that's the most important thing. When you have the two top fighters, then you're going to get a good match.
Yeah.
You're going to get a good match, so there's no doubt Tyson Fury and Usyk are the two best fighters. But if Usyk get in and stay on him, it's 90% he going to win that fight. Because the fight, he's not just a small guy, but he's great. And he don't quit. Yeah. I'm telling you, so we have pretty much the same kind of personality. He's not gonna quit. He's the one of them type of guys that's not gonna quit.
Well, there you go. Evander Holyfield said it. Just get inside the 85-inch reach, and victory is yours. That's the saying, win the Super Bowl. Just keep Patrick Mahomes from throwing touchdowns.
No,
bang, done.
Easy enough.
Easily done. Paulie, what's your thought on the advice?
Well, you know what? I mean, Holyfield, either way. When he's talking, you're going to listen. Especially this is a situation he's very familiar with, right? Ex-cruiserweight champion, undisputed cruiserweight champion, going up and trying to take on the big heavyweights of the world and trying to win the undisputed heavyweight title. So, you know, when it comes to this conversation, when Holyfield speaks, you listen.
Right. But this idea of all he has to do is get inside the jab. Number one, Chris.
Well, he simplified it.
Right, he simplified it.
He didn't tell him how to do it, right? But
hey,
listen, Holyfield found the way to do it, right? So, you know.
So I got a little bit of argument with that because I don't think Usyk's a very good inside fighter. He's got to get past the jab, obviously, and use that, get past that 85-inch reach. But Tyson's really good on the inside, too. He likes to grab you and hit you and move you and use your physicality. So I don't know if it's that easy just getting past the reach, just getting inside for Usyk to be victorious. And I'm not saying Usyk can't be victorious, but, man, first of all, Evander looked good.
He looks very good.
This guy's in great shape, always. But I'd like to see Evander fight Tyson Fury. I think the way that
prime, you mean?
Yeah, look, prime. No, not now.
With everything you don't want to give
I know he looks good, but I'm not talking
right
about fighting now. But no, like in the prime Evander Holyfield versus Tyson Fury, I think he has that style where he was able to work his way in, and he was a very, very good inside fighter. He used to rip combinations on the big guys. Once he got past your reach, he was a nightmare.
And when you fight a dirty fight with Evander, you were just inviting him to a party.
Headbutts, exactly.
It's that kind of party. All right.
No problem at all. Also, that's one of those things that just doesn't live on in most fight fans' memories is Evander he would use that as a weapon. And everybody who fought him went,
he had three fists, basically. He had three weapons. But he had everything. He had elbows. He did, like, good, well-placed punches on the belt line. Evander knew all the rules and how to bend them.
In that sense, is Usyk kind of a breaking of the mold? When we talk about smaller heavyweights, shorter heavyweights, guys who don't have the physical, and shorter, I mean 6'3", but this idea that to your point, he's not a great inside fighter despite being the smaller guy. He doesn't work the body as well as other guys, considering he's a little bit smaller than most heavyweights. Paulie, how does he break that mold and find success?
He comes from the Eastern European boxing system, which was basically for a long time designed for the amateurs. And for the amateurs,
the Soviet system, we call it.
You really wanted to just directly shoot shots that were very visible and press the judges that way. So you didn't do a lot of inside fighting because it was get a little sloppy there. So he comes from that system. He's born when it was still the Soviet Union and probably grew up the first part of it, or early part of his life in that system. And, even when the Soviet Union breaks apart, you're probably still teaching a lot of that stuff as well. And he's very good at it. But how's he going to break it down against Fury not fighting on the inside? Well, like the champ said, first of all, Fury might be the rougher guy inside. So you want to fight at that middle range. It's those side steps. It's those change of pace, change of level, change of the feints to disrupt timing. And also, Usyk has a very very interesting style in that he gets off shots without a tell, really. So he hits you with a left cross, he'll hit you with a jab. So he'll change levels and shoot shots. There's not really a tell. All of a sudden your head is snapping. You know. So you do that enough, you put on a little bit more weight.
Underrated hand speed
you put on a little bit more weight. Maybe it's a little more snap on those shots. Maybe Tyson Fury has to start respecting you because he can't see the shots coming. That's the way.
Now, speaking of respect, we got a Hall of Famer who won a title at heavyweight. He'll give his opinion. That's right. Roy Jones Jr. weighs in right after this. Welcome back to Deep Waters. When you talk about heavyweight greatness, well, you got to talk about pound-for-pound greatness. You can't talk about pound-for-pound greatness without discussing Roy Jones Jr., who moved up from middleweight to win a title at heavyweight. He had his opinion about this Saturday and the key to victory. Here it is.
Can Usyk get around that jab, and can Usyk make his punches meaningful after he gets that jab? Because Usyk will have to get beyond Tyson Fury's jab. Tyson Fury is 6'6.5" with a hell of a jab. You feel me? So he'll have to get beyond that jab. If he can get beyond that jab, he can take what's necessary to get beyond that jab. How much damage can he inflict? Because if he can't get beyond that jab, he already lost the fight. But once he gets beyond that jab, how much damage can he inflict? If he can inflict damage after he gets past the jab, now we got a fight on our hands. If he can't, then it's going to be a long night for him.
Well, I hate to disagree with the champ. 6'9" is Tyson Fury. Incredibly tall, the jab being a huge factor. Chris, what's your thoughts about that? Not just getting around the jab, but getting in and staying in and doing damage to win rounds.
Listen, Roy's the man. I'm a huge Roy Jones fan, obviously, but that was the most concise breakdown I've heard from anyone so far. I mean, he's absolutely right. It's not just getting past the jab. It's being able to inflict damage once he's there. And he said, he's like, if he can't get past the jab, it's a long night, meaning Fury's got the fight. But also, if you get past it and you can't hurt him and you can't win in the middle distance, you're going to lose the fight. So Roy said a lot without saying a lot, just like how Roy does. But very, very excellent breakdown. And I agree, he's got to get inside, but he's got to run those numbers when he is there and also just stay invisible. Stay outside that weak side. Stay outside that lead foot.
Paulie, I have a question for you. Frazier Ali 2, the forgotten fight in that trilogy. What happened? Ali knew that Frazier's a great inside fighter, leaned on him the whole time, on the neck the whole time, mugging him the whole time, leaning on him, putting him against the ropes. It was, look, I'm not going to let you punch inside. When you get inside, I'm going to hang on you. Could that be part of Fury's arsenal come Saturday?
Then the referee starts to become a big part of the fight as well, if that's the case. You know, in fights like that, the referee ends up having to, either do something or not do something, and that has a big result on the fight.
Either way, yeah.
Either way. So I do think the jab of Fury is important, but I also think the variation Fury has on his right hand is important too, because Usyk being a southpaw, sometimes Fury likes to throw that right hand straight, but sometimes he throws it wide. And I think sometimes it's sloppy when it's wide, but a wide right hand sometimes works better against southpaws, because you have kind of that opening coming on the inside. And if you're able to vary it straight and coming around the side, you end up giving Usyk something to think about power-wise as well as your jab. It can, and then of course, if he gets underneath it, when it's coming from the side and he gets underneath, you can also clap him and push him down with that shot when it's coming from the right hand wide. So there's different avenues here for Fury to disrupt the clean, stylistic boxing of Usyk. And Usyk, I think, has prepared for that, but let's see if he's able to execute in that way, because Fury is going to also have various ways to win. He's got that jab, he's got that outside fighting, when he's going to be rough on the inside.
Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, Roy Jones Jr., Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri. We give you an education in boxing. Well, guess what? That education continues post-fight on YouTube. Join us. We will be live breaking down the fight, giving you the highlights, talking through every aspect of the X's and O's. Join us right here. ProBox TV. Like, comment, subscribe. We give you the education. You make use of it. Enjoy the fight on Saturday.